All right, gang, I got her all back together. Got a nice, fancy, schmancy little muffler mod. It's nice and open in there. It was pretty easy to do a muffler mod on this too. I have hopes that this will actually stay red. I don't know if it will or not, but it's a shield, so it shouldn't get as hot as the muffler. You know, there's a gap there. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I did fire it up, but that high revving that it did before, it did it again, and I tuned it out. So I'll have to keep a real close eye on it. It may have leaky crank seals, or the carburetor's kind of finicky. It doesn't want to hold a tune. Maybe the diaphragm is stiff and stuff. I don't know, causing problems. But I do know the vent on the tank is leaking. But I think that I'm going to let this muffler dry really well overnight. I'm not going to run it right now. But with this video, you'll see it here shortly. Okay, so it's the next day, and I'm not going to get to run it. I was, in my head, I had fired it up, and it ran a little wonky. I think it's got an air leak kind of thing, and I was like, you know what? Let me rebuild that carburetor so that I can make sure that it's not the carburetor. If it continues to do this, I'll check the crank seals. And so I got started on the carburetor, and the carburetor had multiple issues. Number one of these bolts that screws in, I don't know if it's this one or not, but one of these bolts that attaches the carburetor is bent. And so that means you turn it and it tightens up the carburetor, and then it loosens and it turns, it tighten it and it loosens and it tightens it and loosens. And you think that's not a big deal. You just get it down there and you really crank it and it'll be fine. But I find that the seals on these carburetors are like the mating surface of the carburetor to the intake boot is really crucial. So a bent bolt could cause an air leak. So I was like, oh, that sucks, right? But I decided to just, put that on the back burner for a second. And I broke into the carburetor. And what I found was the cap here, this is for the fuel pump side. The locator pins here have been broken off. And I'm like, well, the only way that happens, is if some dork that doesn't know what they're doing is fucking around with the carburetor. And they go, well, it won't go on. It won't go on. I'm just breaking those off. And then they put it on and it's the wrong way. And they go, oh, there was a purpose for those. So I got to looking, and an Efco 590 carburetor could be made to work on these saws. I took the top off of the 590 carburetor and put it on here. I had to turn that impulse line the opposite direction, but that still should be no problem. And I put it all back together, put it back on, and I still had the leak. And it was still running funny, and so I decided to spray some carb cleaner around the carburetor. And sure enough, same thing as the MS 400, right there, I'm leaking. Also, the guy, in order to deal with this, the reason why it was spinning that chain the way that it was in the previous video is because he had his idle screw turned all the way in, and it was crammed, it was forced. So it was all the way in, and then whenever I backed it out, I noticed that it spins way too freely. Way too freely. And so I foresaw that that's going to be a problem as well with this carburetor, because I'm going to set it all up and then this is just going to creep and it's going to change my tune constantly. And I'm like, you know what? F it. I'm going to get a new carburetor. I just did what I think is going to be a phenomenal port job on this thing. I want it to go back together well and run well. And then there was the other thing. The pawl, so it had some multiple issues. All right. The pawl for the starter assembly on the flywheel, one of those, the thing that stops the pawl, is broken off. And so one pawl is just like useless while the other pawl is catching. And you go, okay, that's fine. I can start it and it works and everything. But how long is that going to last? And so I went ahead and I ordered a used flywheel off of eBay. And I bought a new carburetor and new bolt. And I went ahead and got a couple crank seals too, just in case we have problems with that. But yeah, overall, I spent about $240-ish, something like that. $250 on parts. So now this $250 chainsaw that I was really happy about is a $500 chainsaw that I'm not so damn happy about. and so whenever I purchased everything, immediately afterwards, I was like, oh, shit. I should have contacted Tanton. Because he's got tons of these. And I was like, I bet you he would have the parts. And we've been talking back and forth this morning, and sure enough, he does. But I already placed the order and everything, and we'll just go that route. But yeah, it really sucks. I know that most of you guys have been in a similar situation at some point with something. And you're like, wow, $250? Heck yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to pay for that. Then you got to buy $250 worth of more parts. Ugh. Pain in my ass. So anyways, don't know how long those parts are going to take to come in. I ordered them from a company out of Harriman, New York. No shit. That's the name of the town. Harriman. Harriman. That's a bad address. So anyways, but I don't know if the parts are going to have to come from Italy or what. Hopefully they'll get here lickety split. And because I really want to run this thing, I have high hopes that it's going to be a really bang up saw and to get some use out of. Yeah, for whatever reason, we all have things that we like, and we can't exactly pinpoint why we like them better than other things. But like, my Husqvarna 359, last time I ran it, ran flawlessly. And I've never known it not to run flawlessly. So, as far as I know, it's a great running little unit. It's ported up. It's really fast and powerful. It's good. I never use it. Never. I'm only keeping it around because whenever I get to the 60cc challenge, I want to have it available, to put in the mix. And but this Efco, I can imagine me pulling it out and using it. I don't know why. I don't know. So as good as that 359 is, and my 2156, it's back here somewhere. I think it's one of these. I think it's that one. My Johnson Red 2156. It's great. It runs great. For some reason, I just want to keep it on the shelf. I don't know. But I think the Efco, I'm going to actually want to pull that out and use it. But we'll see. Don't know. I haven't gotten to run it whenever it's running well at all. So it might be a turd, but I don't think so. I think it's going to rock pretty hard, especially with that Johnson Red 630 piston. set up, I think it's going to actually run really, really well. So I've ported enough saws at this point. I kind of know what to expect, and I think it's going to be damn great to use. Anyways, but we'll see.